All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Dr. Anil Dewan. He is the CEO of Nanovericides. And Dr. Dewan, welcome back. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much. Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Good to see you as well. And a pretty
Good to see
interesting
you.
news that you had out talking about NV387 and inflection of influenza on a house model study. And it goes beyond just influenza as well. So just overall, tell me a little bit about what the sort of the news you're seeing out of this.
So NV387 has turned out to be a very surprisingly active antiviral molecule. And as you have seen before, we had started working on it for COVID. COVID is still there and we are working on it. It works very well. Along the way, we knew that we had designed it as a very broad spectrum antiviral. So we started testing it against other viruses. The first one we did was RSV. And you already know the news on that. We were actually able to cure RSV infection in animals. So there is no real drug for RSV treatment. So we are obviously following up on that into clinical trials. Then we also did work on smallpox, as you know, which is a bioterrorism important disease. And we additionally, as you know, we have been since 2005 when we were founding, we had been working on influenza. We set it aside because of the very expensive project that it turned out to be. We wanted to test NV387 against that as well. And we did that testing in H3N2 animal model, lethal lung infection, as we always do. And it turns out NV387 beat out all three available approved drugs in this treatment. And that was the first thing that we did. We always do survival-based studies because they are clearly indicative of how well it will work in humans. So that in that one, NV387 showed tremendous improvement. It was, I think, almost 100% improvement in survival, whereas the other drugs gave like 30% or so improvement in survival.
Where do you take this type of data, Anil? Where does this type of data go now? Because that's some pretty significant findings to begin with. So
Right. Yeah.
where are you able to take this data?
So that's what will help us develop a clinical trial program for it. And we'll work on it after we have already engaged into RSV clinical trial program, as you know. So once we move forward with that, then we will go ahead and develop the clinical trial program for influenza. So one more thing that we think what is happening with influenza, this was H3N2 study. We have previously done H1N1 studies. They were highly successful. And this drug, NV387, is a substantial improvement in the same platform on the same kind of drugs.
So, Dr. Dewan, let's talk about another part of the news release that was quite interesting as far as the H5N1 virus is concerned. Can you talk a bit about that as well?
We had at that time in 2006 shown that our then drug candidate works against H5N1 as well in cell cultures. Okay. So now what we are looking at is NV387 will also be able to demonstrate activity against H5N1 or not. We do know that it should be actually substantially effective. And the reason for that is highly pathogenic avian influenza viruses, HPAI, they carry a thing called polybasic or multibasic site in their hemagglutinin protein, the H protein, H5. And that site is actually something that is targeted by NV387, believe it or not. So we do think that it is a very high chance that it might be even better against H5N1 than against H3N2. Of course, those are things that we have in progress now, and we'll see when those results come out.
Yeah, so that H5N1 is in essence better known as the bird flu. And so
Exactly.
we've heard a lot about that, obviously. Is there much of a treatment for bird flu as far as animals are concerned? I know it doesn't affect humans as much, but certainly it does affect a lot of animals.
Yes, it does affect a lot of animals. What was done was a widespread vaccination program was set up for it. Unfortunately, due to that vaccination program, the changes in H5N1 were accelerated, and it has also become much more widespread because of those changes. So now, essentially, all of the wildfowl is pretty much carriers, wild waterfowls. In all 50 states, H5N1 bird flu has been found. And it has moved to mammals, dairy cows, as you know, in 12 states in dairy herds, it has been found. So in addition, there are a few, very, very few human cases which were by direct contact with some fluids like milk from dairy cows, it is assumed. And
Yeah.
only one of them was a respiratory contact like aerosol. So all of them have recovered except one in Mexico that died. And that was a person who had other comorbidities, which is typical with these viruses, as you know. We are ahead in the bird flu game. Even as the virus mutates, we have a solution that will work no matter what happens to H5N1. And you know that H5N1 will enter humans once it has acquired a few mutations, and possibly it will become drug resistant by that time, which means the existing drugs may not work. And so you do need a good drug to work against it. And we believe NV387 will provide that opportunity.
Well, super fascinating stuff. Once again, it'd be interesting to see how this all continues to develop itself. And obviously, there's still more work to do. But Dr. Dewan, thank you so much. Good update and good to talk to you as well.
Thank you very much.